John Miller was just an ordinary man. He lived on a small planet called Terra Nova, far away from the bright stars and busy space cities. John worked as a mechanic in a small garage. Every day, he fixed old machines, small ships, and broken robots. He loved his work, but he often dreamed about something more, something big and exciting. John's life was quiet and simple. He lived in a small house with a garden full of flowers. His neighbors knew him as a kind and honest man. But John felt that the universe was bigger than Terra Nova, and maybe one day his life would change. One sunny morning, John was fixing an old hover car when a strange sound filled the sky. People stopped what they were doing and looked up. A huge starship appeared, shining like a diamond in the sunlight. It was unlike any ship John had seen before. The starship landed right in the center of the town. People gathered around, whispering and staring in awe. John wiped his hands and walked closer. The ship's doors opened slowly, and out came a group of people wearing shiny clothes. At their head was a tall man with a serious face. The man looked around and then spoke in a calm voice. "I am Envoy Care from the Galactic Royal Council. We have come with a special message for a human named John Miller." John's heart beat fast. How did they know his name? He stepped forward, feeling nervous but curious. Envoy Care smiled slightly. "John, you are invited to the galactic capital. The Princess Lyra wishes to meet you. There is a chance for you to take part in a great challenge. The winner will have the honor to marry the most beautiful princess in the galaxy." The crowd gasped. John could not believe what he heard. Marry the princess. It sounded like a dream. A story from old human legends, not real life. John looked at the envoy and asked, "Why me? I'm just a simple mechanic." Care's eyes were serious. "The princess sees something special in you, John. This challenge is not about wealth or power. It is about courage, heart, and the strength of being human." John did not know what to say. His ordinary life was about to change forever. That night, John packed his few belongings. He looked at the stars from his window and wondered what awaited him at the galactic capital. Could he really compete with the best beings in the universe? Could he win the princess's hand? For the first time, John felt hope mixed with fear. The journey ahead would be hard and full of surprises, but it was a chance he could not refuse. And so, the ordinary mechanic from Terra Nova was about to step into a story much bigger than himself, a story that would change the galaxy forever. The next morning, John stood at the spaceport of Terra Nova, watching the huge starship Celestial Dawn prepare to leave. It was the ship that would take him to the galactic capital, a place he had only heard about in stories. The starship was bright and beautiful, with lights that blinked like stars and engines that hummed like a giant sleeping beast. John's heart was full of nervous excitement. He wondered what the galactic capital would look like. Would the people be friendly? Would the princess really want to meet him? And most of all, could he be brave enough for the challenge ahead? As he walked up the gangway onto the ship, John met the crew. They were from many different planets. Some had blue skin, some had many eyes, and some looked like machines. They all greeted John with warm smiles. It made him feel less alone. Inside the ship, John was shown to a small cabin. It was not fancy, but it had everything he needed. He looked out of the window and saw Terra Nova grow smaller and smaller until it became just a tiny dot among the stars. During the journey, John met Envoy Care again. Care explained more about the challenge. "Princess Lyra has invited champions from many planets," Care said. "They will face tests of strength, wisdom, and kindness. It is not easy. Many have failed before." John listened carefully. "What if I fail?" he asked quietly. Care smiled kindly. "Then you will have learned something valuable. But you have something special, John. Your heart, your kindness, and your courage will help you." The Celestial Dawn moved fast through space, passing glowing nebulae and shining star clusters. John watched everything with wide eyes. For the first time, the galaxy felt close and real. After 3 days, the starship arrived at the galactic capital. It was the biggest city John had ever seen. Towers reached high into the sky, and ships flew like birds between buildings. Bright lights and colors filled every corner. It was a place full of life and energy. John stepped off the ship and was greeted by the royal court. He saw warriors in shining armor, scholars with glowing books, and diplomats speaking many languages. Everyone looked important and powerful. Then a hush fell over the crowd as Princess Lyra entered. She was even more beautiful than John had imagined. Her eyes sparkled like stars, and her smile was warm and kind. She wore a crown that shone with gems from many planets. Lyra walked towards John and spoke in a clear, gentle voice. "Welcome, John Miller. You are the first human to enter this contest in many years. I hope you will show us the true strength of your people." John bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, Princess Lyra. I will do my best." The princess nodded. "The first trial will begin soon. Rest now, for tomorrow you will face challenges unlike any you have known." That night, John lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts raced with hope and fear. He was still just an ordinary man, but now the whole galaxy was watching him, and his chance to marry the most beautiful princess in the galaxy was about to begin. The morning sun shone brightly over the galactic capital, lighting the grand arena where the contest would take place. John stood among the other contestants, his heart pounding in his chest. Around him were beings of all shapes and sizes, tall and strong, clever and fast, and some with powers John could not even understand. The air buzzed with excitement and tension. Princess Lyra stood on a high platform, watching all the champions with calm eyes. Her beauty and presence made the whole arena silent. Everyone waited for her words. Finally, she spoke. "Welcome, brave champions, to the challenge that will decide who is worthy of standing by my side. This contest is not only about strength, it is about heart, courage, and wisdom. You will face trials that test your mind and soul." John listened carefully. He was nervous but felt a small spark of hope inside him. The first trial was announced: a zero-gravity obstacle course inside a large space dome. The contestants had to float, jump, and fly through rings, avoid moving barriers, and solve puzzles in midair. It was a test of agility and quick thinking. John looked around at the other champions. Many of them had wings, tentacles, or special suits made for space. John only had his body and his mind, but he remembered something his father once told him. Sometimes, being ordinary is your greatest power. The race began. John pushed off the ground and floated forward. At first, he struggled with the strange feeling of no gravity. He bumped into walls and missed some rings, but slowly he learned to control his movements. He watched the other contestants carefully and found a new way to move, using small bursts of air from his boots and quick thinking to solve the puzzles. One moment stood out. A moving barrier blocked the path. While others tried to force their way, John waited, observed its pattern, and then slipped through a small gap just in time. That smart move surprised the crowd. Princess Lyra's eyes shone with interest. She saw something different in John, a mix of patience, courage, and cleverness. By the end of the course, John was tired but proud. He did not finish first, but he was not last either. More importantly, he had shown the judges that he could think and adapt under pressure. After the trial, the contestants gathered in a hall. Some smiled, others looked disappointed. A few whispered about John, calling him the human who surprised us all. John felt a new strength inside him. He was no longer just an ordinary mechanic from Terra Nova. He was part of something bigger, something important. That night, as he looked at the stars from his room, John thought about the days ahead. The trials would grow harder, but he was ready to face them. And somewhere in the vast galaxy, Princess Lyra watched from her chambers, wondering if this simple human could truly win her heart. The next morning, John woke up with a mix of excitement and nervousness. The first trial had tested his body and mind, But he knew the challenges ahead would be even tougher. Today's trial was a test of strength and teamwork. John made his way to the training grounds, where the other contestants were already gathered. The sun was high, shining on a large field filled with strange machines and obstacles. The royal court had designed this trial to push the champions beyond their limits. Princess Lyra appeared at the edge of the field. She smiled warmly at John, then spoke to all the contestants. "This trial will test your ability to work with others. You will be divided into teams. Only by working together can you overcome the obstacles and complete the course." John looked around nervously. Many of the other contestants had friends or allies from their own planets. He was alone, a human among powerful aliens. The teams were formed quickly. John was placed with 3 others: Zara, a tall warrior from the desert planet Sandor; Kree, a small but fast engineer from a robotic species; and Vora, a quiet but strong fighter from the forest moon of Eldara. John studied his teammates. Zara was confident and serious. Kree smiled often and seemed curious about John. Vora said nothing but nodded respectfully. The challenge was explained. Teams must carry a heavy energy core through a series of dangerous zones, filled with traps, puzzles, and moving walls. The core was unstable and needed careful handling. At the start, John felt unsure. How could he help these powerful beings? But then, the trial began. At first, the team struggled. The energy core was heavy, and the traps were tricky. Zara used her strength to clear paths. Kree's quick fingers disarmed traps. Vora guarded their backs silently. John focused on watching the traps and giving ideas. When they reached a large moving wall, the team was stuck. The wall closed slowly, and the path behind was blocked. John remembered something from his mechanic days. Sometimes, the best way was to use what you had around you. He looked at the ground and saw a loose metal rod. "If we can wedge this here," he said, pointing, "we can stop the wall for a moment." Zara and Kree quickly helped place the rod, and the wall stopped moving. "Good thinking, human," Zara said with a small smile. Together, they moved the core forward, solving puzzles and avoiding traps. The team grew stronger, learning to trust each other. At the end of the course, they reached the finish line with the core still stable. The judges clapped, impressed by the team's cooperation. John felt proud. He was not just strong or fast, but useful. He had helped the team win. Later, in the royal hall, Princess Lyra spoke again. "Today, we saw the power of working together. John, you have shown that even an ordinary human can be an important part of a strong team." John smiled. For the first time, he felt he belonged. That night, he dreamed of the next trials and the chance to prove himself even more. The princess's challenge was far from over, but John was ready to face whatever came next. The days passed quickly in the galactic capital, and the trials grew harder. John found himself learning more than he ever imagined. But the biggest challenge was not only the tests, it was the people around him. One afternoon, while walking through the bustling market district, John met Taika, a clever engineer from the planet Makara. She had bright green eyes and a quick smile. Taika was curious about John's simple tools and ways of fixing machines. They talked for hours about inventions and ideas. Taika became John's first true friend in the capital. She gave him advice about the trials and helped him understand the complex technology around him. At the training grounds, John also met Ral, a former royal guard from the planet Vordak. Ral was strong and quiet, with scars that told stories of many battles. He saw something special in John's determination and began to teach him combat skills and self-defense. Together, Taika and Ral became John's allies. They shared stories, trained together, and supported each other through the difficult days. But not everyone was friendly. Among the other contestants was Zarn, a tall and proud warrior from the planet Krass. Zarn saw John as weak and unworthy. He often sneered and made harsh comments, trying to shake John's confidence. One day, during a training session, Zarn pushed John hard, trying to show his strength. John stumbled but stood firm. Instead of fighting back, John smiled and said, "Strength is not only in muscles, but in the heart." Zarn was taken aback by John's calm words. He didn't expect the human to have such courage. Later, Zarn began to watch John more closely. His sneers turned into quiet challenges. It was clear that Zarn planned to stop John from winning by any means. Despite the tension, John stayed focused. He knew he could not win the princess's heart by fighting alone. He needed his friends and his own unique strengths. One evening, Taika and Ral invited John to a small gathering. They talked about the upcoming trials and the dangers they might face. Taika smiled and said, "You may be ordinary, John, but you have something rare, the courage to keep going." Ral nodded. "We will stand with you. You are not alone." John felt a new confidence. With his friends by his side and the princess watching, he was ready to face the challenges ahead. Little did he know, the biggest test was coming soon, one that would not only test his strength and courage, but the fate of the entire galaxy. John was training with his friends when suddenly, alarms blared through the galactic capital. The sky darkened, and the bright stars seemed to dim. People stopped in their tracks, looking up with fear in their eyes, and Voicair rushed to John's side. "There is danger coming, an ancient cosmic threat," he said quickly. "The Shadow Nebula, a dark force thought defeated centuries ago, is moving toward the capital." John felt a chill. The Shadow Nebula was a legend, a swirling mass of dark energy that could destroy entire planets. If it reached the capital, it could mean disaster for all. Princess Lyra appeared, calm but serious. "All champions must prepare. The trials are paused. This is now a fight for survival." The Galactic Council gathered to plan their defense. John watched as leaders from many planets argued and worried. The machines of war were prepared, but the Shadow Nebula was unlike anything they had faced. John felt a deep fear, but also a strange determination. He knew this was a moment where ordinary people could become heroes. He went to Taika and Ral. "We need to help. We can't just wait and watch." Taika nodded. "There might be a way. The ancient texts say the nebula's power can be weakened by a special energy source, the core of light, but it is hidden on a distant planet." Ral clenched his fists. "We must find it before the nebula reaches us." Without hesitation, John and his friends volunteered for the dangerous mission. They boarded a small ship and set off into the dark space, racing against time. The journey was hard. The ship passed through asteroid fields and storms of cosmic dust. John's hands were steady on the controls, and Taika worked to keep the engines running. Finally, they reached the mysterious planet. It was covered in glowing crystals and strange plants that seemed to hum with energy. John led the team through the strange landscape, feeling the weight of their mission. The core of light was said to be guarded by ancient protectors. Suddenly, they were surrounded by glowing creatures, silent but powerful. John stepped forward, remembering the lessons from the trials. "We come in peace. We seek only to save our home." The creatures seemed to understand. They stepped aside, revealing the glowing core of light on a pedestal. John carefully took the core. As he held it, he felt warmth and strength flow through him. The team rushed back to their ship, carrying the hope of the entire galaxy. When they returned to the capital, the battle was beginning. The Shadow Nebula loomed, dark and terrifying. John knew the core of light was their last chance. With the help of the council, he activated the core. A brilliant light burst forth, pushing the dark energy back. The nebula shrieked and shrank, retreating into the depths of space. The people cheered. John, the ordinary human, had helped save them all. Princess Lyra watched from her balcony, pride shining in her eyes. John smiled. His journey was far from over, but he had proven that even the smallest person could change the fate of the galaxy. After the Shadow Nebula retreated, the galactic capital buzzed with relief and celebration. But for John, there was no time to rest. The princess's challenge was not over yet. In fact, it had taken on a new meaning. Now John was no longer just a contestant. He was a hero. The Galactic Council gathered to decide the next steps. Many leaders praised John's courage and quick thinking during the crisis. Some even whispered that humanity had a special role in the galaxy's future. Princess Lyra approached John in the Grand Hall. Her eyes were bright with admiration. "John, your actions have saved us all, but the contest still calls for proof of your wisdom and heart." John nodded, feeling a mix of pride and pressure. "I understand, Your Highness. I will do my best." The next trial was a test of diplomacy. The galaxy was full of many species, some at peace, others at war. Two powerful factions were on the edge of conflict, and only a true leader could bring them to peace. John was surprised but ready. He knew this was a chance to show that humans were more than just fighters or mechanics. They could be peacemakers too. At the grand meeting chamber, leaders from the two factions sat facing each other. The room was tense. Old wounds and mistrust filled the air. John took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I am John Miller, a human from Terra Nova. I do not come with power or weapons. I come with a simple wish: peace." He listened carefully to each leader's concerns. He asked questions, showed respect, and shared stories from his home planet about the importance of trust and friendship. Slowly, the tension began to ease. John suggested small steps the factions could take to rebuild trust. Shared projects, open communication, and ceremonies to honor each other's history. Some leaders nodded, others were hesitant. But John's honesty and calm spirit made them think. The room began to feel warmer, less hostile. After hours of talks, an agreement was reached. The factions promised to stop fighting and work together for the good of all. The crowd outside the chamber cheered. Princess Lyra smiled proudly. "John, you have shown the true strength of humanity, the power to bring hope and peace." John felt a joy deeper than any victory in a trial. He had helped save the galaxy not by fighting, but by listening and caring. That night, John sat on the balcony with his friends Taika and Ral. They looked at the stars, feeling a quiet pride. "You've changed everything," Taika said softly. Ral nodded, "Not just for humans, but for everyone." John smiled. "I'm still just an ordinary man, but maybe that's enough." The princess's challenge was almost over, but John knew the journey had only just begun. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had earned its place. After the Shadow Nebula retreated, the galactic capital buzzed with relief and celebration. But for John, there was no time to rest. The princess's challenge was not over yet. In fact, it had taken on a new meaning. Now John was no longer just a contestant. He was a hero. The Galactic Council gathered to decide the next steps. Many leaders praised John's courage and quick thinking during the crisis. Some even whispered that humanity had a special role in the galaxy's future. Princess Lyra approached John in the Grand Hall. Her eyes were bright with admiration. "John, your actions have saved us all, but the contest still calls for proof of your wisdom and heart." John nodded, feeling a mix of pride and pressure. "I understand, Your Highness. I will do my best." The next trial was a test of diplomacy. The galaxy was full of many species, some at peace, others at war. Two powerful factions were on the edge of conflict, and only a true leader could bring them to peace. John was surprised but ready. He knew this was a chance to show that humans were more than just fighters or mechanics. They could be peacemakers too. At the grand meeting chamber, leaders from the two factions sat facing each other. The room was tense. Old wounds and mistrust filled the air. John took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I am John Miller, a human from Terra Nova. I do not come with power or weapons. I come with a simple wish: peace." He listened carefully to each leader's concerns. He asked questions, showed respect, and shared stories from his home planet about the importance of trust and friendship. Slowly, the tension began to ease. John suggested small steps the factions could take to rebuild trust. Shared projects, open communication, and ceremonies to honor each other's history. Some leaders nodded, others were hesitant. But John's honesty and calm spirit made them think. The room began to feel warmer, less hostile. After hours of talks, an agreement was reached. The factions promised to stop fighting and work together for the good of all. The crowd outside the chamber cheered. Princess Lyra smiled proudly. John, you have shown the true strength of humanity, the power to bring hope and peace. John felt a joy deeper than any victory in a trial. He had helped save the galaxy not by fighting, but by listening and caring. That night, John sat on the balcony with his friends Taika and Ral. They looked at the stars, feeling a quiet pride. "You've changed everything," Taika said softly. Ral nodded, "Not just for humans, but for everyone." John smiled. "I'm still just an ordinary man, but maybe that's enough." The princess's challenge was almost over, but John knew the journey had only just begun. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had earned its place. The grand hall of the galactic capital was filled with excitement and anticipation. The final test of the princess's challenge was about to begin. John stood quietly, feeling a mixture of nervousness and determination. After all the trials, this last one would decide everything. Princess Lyra stepped forward and spoke in a clear voice. "Champions, the last test is the most important. It is a test of your true character, how you solve problems not by force, but by wisdom and heart." John listened carefully. The task was a diplomatic mission to a distant planet called Varelia. 2 tribes there had been fighting for years over a sacred land. The conflict had caused pain and suffering for many. The challenge was to bring peace between them. John knew this would not be easy, but he remembered the lessons from his past trials: patience, understanding, and the courage to speak the truth. With his friends Taika and Ral by his side, John traveled to Varelia. The planet was beautiful but scarred by years of war. The air was heavy with tension. John met the leaders of the 2 tribes. Both were proud and stubborn, unwilling to give up what they believed was theirs. John spoke calmly. "I am not here to take sides. I want to help you find a way to live together in peace." He listened to their stories, their pain, and their hopes. He shared stories from his own world about people who once fought but learned to live as friends. At first, the tribes did not trust him. Meetings were long and difficult. Sometimes, words turned to anger. But John never gave up. He suggested a ceremony to honor both tribes, a way to show respect for each other's traditions. Slowly, the leaders agreed. The ceremony was held on a day when both suns shone brightly in the sky. People from both tribes gathered, watching as their leaders shook hands and promised peace. John felt tears in his eyes. This moment was more than a victory in the contest. It was a real change for many lives. When John returned to the galactic capital, the princess awaited him. She smiled and said, "You have done what few could. You have shown that true strength is in the heart." The royal court cheered. John was no longer just an ordinary mechanic from Terra Nova. He was a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. That night, John stood under the stars, thinking about his journey. From a simple man fixing machines to a hero who had touched many lives. The princess's challenge was over, but a new chapter was just beginning. The grand hall was filled with soft music and warm light. The royal court had gathered for a special ceremony. Today, Princess Lyra was to make her final decision. John stood among the other champions, but he knew that this moment was unlike any before. The princess stepped forward, her eyes shining with kindness and strength. "John Miller, you have shown courage, wisdom, and a heart full of kindness. You have faced every trial with honor." The crowd whispered, excitement building. John felt his heart race. After all the tests, the long journey, and the battles, this was the moment that mattered most. Lyra continued, "The choice is mine, but it is also yours. To marry me is to take on a life filled with duty, challenge, and change." You will leave behind your old life and become a part of the galaxy's future." John looked around the room. He saw faces full of hope, pride, and respect. But inside, he felt a mix of joy and fear. Could he truly leave his simple life behind? Could he live as the princess's consort, with all the eyes of the galaxy watching him? He thought of his small house on Terra Nova, the quiet days fixing machines, the friends he had made here, and the people who believed in him. Finally, John stepped forward. "Princess Lyra, I am honored by your offer. This journey has changed me in ways I never imagined. I am ready to face the challenges ahead, not just for myself, but for all the people who believe in hope, peace, and courage." Lyra smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Then let us begin a new chapter together." The ceremony was beautiful. Music filled the air, and the stars outside seemed to shine brighter. John and Lyra stood side by side, their hands joined as they promised to lead with wisdom and kindness. Later, as the celebrations continued, John found a quiet moment with his friends Taika and Ral. "I never thought this could happen," John said softly. "From a simple mechanic to this, it feels like a dream." Taika smiled. "You earned it. You showed everyone what it means to be human." Ral nodded. "The galaxy has changed because of you, John. And you have changed too." John looked up at the sky, feeling both small and important. His choice was clear, and the future was full of promise. No matter what challenges came next, John knew one thing. He would face them with courage, heart, and the love of a princess by his side. The day of the wedding arrived. The galactic capital was decorated with shining lights and colorful banners from many worlds. People from all corners of the galaxy gathered to witness the union of John Miller, the ordinary human mechanic, and Princess Lyra, the most beautiful princess in the galaxy. John stood in the grand hall, dressed in a simple but elegant suit. He felt a mix of excitement and calm. He looked around and saw the faces of his friends, Taika, Raul, and Voiker, and many others who had supported him on his incredible journey. The doors opened, and Princess Lyra entered, radiant in a gown that shimmered like the stars. Her smile warmed John's heart. As she walked toward him, the crowd fell silent, watching this moment of history. The ceremony began with words of hope and unity. Leaders from different planets spoke of friendship and peace. They spoke of a future where species would work together, inspired by the courage and kindness of a simple human. When it was time to exchange vows, John took Lyra's hands gently. "I was just an ordinary man," he said softly. "But with you, I have found strength and purpose. I promise to stand by your side, to learn and to lead, and to work for a galaxy where all are free and respected." Lyra's eyes shone with tears. "And I promise to trust your heart, to share my world with you, and to build a future filled with hope." As they exchanged rings, the crowd erupted in cheers. The stars outside seemed to shine even brighter, as if the whole universe celebrated their union. After the ceremony, the celebration lasted long into the night. Music, laughter, and stories filled the air. John felt a happiness deeper than he had ever known. Later, standing on the balcony with Princess Lyra, John looked out at the galaxy stretching endlessly before them. "I never imagined my life would lead here," he said. Lyra smiled. "Sometimes the smallest light can shine the brightest in the darkness." John nodded. "I am ready for whatever comes next." Together, they watched the dawn rise over the galactic capital, a new beginning for them, for humanity, and for the entire galaxy. John's journey from an ordinary mechanic to a symbol of hope was complete, but it was also just the start of a story that would inspire generations to come.